My name is Yaroslav Ivanus, which I use in English as Jerry Iwanus. I was born in Winnipeg, but I spent 40 years in Alberta prior to moving to New Brunswick for family reasons. I consider myself to be part of the Ukrainian community here, despite the fact that I live in Au Cœur de l'Acadie in Pointe-Sapin. My roots in Ukrainian are Canadian. Those roots are Canadian. I grew up in Winnipeg in the Ukrainian community there, and as a result of more my father's choices than mine, I was involved in all sorts of Ukrainian things there. That included going to Ukrainian school twice a week, Ukrainian woodcutting, Ukrainian mandolin orchestra, Ukrainian church, Ukrainian lots of stuff. To be perfectly honest, I didn't always enjoy that when I was young because I had other interests besides that, but I also understood why those were priorities for my father. Eventually, I, at the age of 19, moved to Edmonton, where there's also a very strong Ukrainian community, and I had already Ukrainian friends there. I eventually decided to go to university. I went to the University of Alberta. I have a bachelor's degree in history, but I also have a master's degree in Ukrainian history. So I came about my interest and my passion for things Ukrainian, not so much because of what I was put into when I was younger, but largely because of my studies of it in university. I ended up with one particular very good professor, Professor Ivan Lysiak-Rudnitsky, who really made Ukrainian history interesting for me. I took 4 courses from him over a period of 2 years, and I decided I have to do a master's in this. This is just exactly what I'm interested in. So in a lot of ways, that period cultivated my passion for things Ukrainian more so than when I was young. Although I do still play mandolin, I can still sing in Ukrainian, I still speak Ukrainian, I read Ukrainian, I write Ukrainian. And I'm proud of the fact that I'm able to do that, but I came to that on my own terms over my lifetime. We knew we were moving to Pointe-Sapin because we had purchased that house some time before. I've always wanted to live on the ocean, and my wife wanted to be closer to family. So we spent a fair bit of time learning French so we could fit in there better. That's still a work in progress, by the way. I've also had the opportunity to become involved with the Ukrainian community in Moncton, who's an entirely different wave of Ukrainians than what my father was. My father came in what is considered to be the 3rd wave of Ukrainian immigration. He arrived, he was a displaced person, now we call them refugees. It was a displaced person who ended up first in Germany, took a trade, and then in England where he met my mother. They married in '52, and in 1954 they came over to Canada on a ship called the Empress of France, and I was born in 1959. That is the early part of my Ukrainian time, but ultimately when we ended up in New Brunswick for the reasons I gave, I wanted to become involved in the Ukrainian community here, but this is an entirely different wave of immigration. The first 3 waves are considered to be, the first wave was the early immigrants before the war, starting in 1891, settled in Western Canada, primarily in Alberta, kind of north of Edmonton. The second wave is considered to be the interwar wave, and then my father would have been considered 3rd wave. Well, there have been numerous waves after that, including the group that is primarily the one that constitutes the Moncton Ukrainian community. The Moncton Ukrainian community has been very active until recently in promoting the Ukrainian culture, giving us reasons to get together, reasons to celebrate, reasons to enjoy meals together, and so forth. Once the invasion on February 24th by Russia commenced, the Ukrainian community in Moncton went on an entirely different agenda, and it became an agenda to support our fellow Ukrainians in Ukraine, to support the military, to support the people there, to support the hundreds of thousands of refugees, providing medical supplies and all these sorts of things. And it's actually really heartwarming to watch just how hard the Ukrainian community here has worked to make that happen. However, I think the most heartwarming thing about all of this is just how much that the rest of the New Brunswick community has come together to support Ukraine. Just today, on March 27th, I attended a concert in support of Ukraine in Dieppe. This was a concert by Francophones, for Francophones, but it included such a wide variety of music, and the place was absolutely full. And my heart is full just seeing that kind of support. And I would say that the Acadian population of New Brunswick knows just a little bit about historical injustice, so it's no surprise that they would support Ukraine in the position that it is in. But I have received support where I work. I have received support from my community, which is an Acadian fishing community. The support around New Brunswick has been absolutely amazing, and I am humbled and so very grateful for that. So my connections to the Ukrainian community have all sorts of different angles, back to Winnipeg, back in Alberta, and now here. And I feel that I'm in the right place right now to help in all sorts of different ways. Some good things that have come about as the result of the Russian invasion. Number one is the world finally knows what many of us have known all along, which is who Russia is and who Vladimir Putin is. We know that exactly. The second thing that this situation has created is the world now knows exactly who Ukraine is and who Ukraine is relative to Russia. And for all those people that thought that Ukrainians were Russians or they spoke the same language or some nonsense like that, now the world knows that Ukraine is its own country and Russia has its own agenda towards Ukraine. If we understand that Russia does not believe that Ukraine has the right to exist as an independent country, if we understand that, then we really understand everything else. The rest is all just details. But there was a period, I think, where Ukrainians, especially in eastern Ukraine, may have looked at Russia and said, well, we're fairly close to these people. That would not be the case anymore. Ukrainians now also in eastern Ukraine know exactly who the Russians are and what their thoughts are towards the Ukrainians. If there's a third thing that's good that's come about this, it's that it's united much of the rest of the world around something that it can believe in. It doesn't matter where you look, there are blue and yellow colors flying. A month and a half ago, nobody knew what the Ukrainian flag looked like. Well, you know what? The whole world knows what the Ukrainian flag looks like now. And people are waving it in support of Ukraine. And it warms my heart because this is something, in some sense, I've been working towards all my life. My master's thesis was actually on, I wrote it in 1986, but it sits on a shelf somewhere and nobody really cares about it. Well, all of a sudden, this master's thesis, which was on essentially how Russia had stolen Ukraine's medieval heritage and the process by which Ukraine was reclaiming that, well, all of a sudden that's really pertinent because Mr. Putin argues that Ukraine has never existed. That's not exactly how the argument goes. There are some good things that have come from this war, and I think the world maybe is in some sense glad that it has something to rally around after the whole COVID experience, that we can all feel good about supporting something where it's very clear who is in the right and who is in the wrong. I'm proud to be part of that. I'm proud to be in New Brunswick to be part of that, and I am very proud to be a Ukrainian Canadian.